I have seen the light when it comes to sword and sorcery movies, and the light is Deathstalker. No, we're not talking about that Deathstalker, not Deathstalker 1. Not Deathstalker 2, which I also have thoughts on.
Why did they call you the Prince of Thieves?
Because I'm the best.
Maybe we'll save that for another video. But this is Deathstalker 2025. I also want to know, have you seen Deathstalker 1 or Deathstalker 2? Have you seen either of the, or 3? Have you seen any of the previous Deathstalkers? And if so, which one is your favorite? Let me know down in the comments below, and let me know why you like it. Something that I love about this movie is that it is done by a Canadian team, written and directed by Steven Kostanski, who did another movie that I have heard only the best things about. I've only seen a few clips from it, but it's called Psycho Goreman. And I had the absolute pleasure of being invited to the Toronto premiere for this movie. Shoutouts to my friend, my good friend Sean from The Creative Imbalance. We'll put like a picture of Sean or something up here, and I'll put like a link to his stuff in the video description or in the pinned comment. You guys should go check him out. He's interviewed me before. He interviews a lot of cool people, and he knows people from that were working in this production, basically from Deathstalker. And so he got an invite. He invited me and my friend Jen. We went to the premiere, and it was such an absolutely epic time. Guys, man. It's crazy to me because sword and sorcery is just a genre where I feel like we haven't really seen anything that's been really great till Deathstalker, honestly. In recent times, I haven't seen a great sword and sorcery movie for a minute. The last one that I really, really loved that kind of is in that vein, although it's more action adventure, I'd say, is Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves. But that movie is also a very expensive movie, and Deathstalker is a very small budget. I think the budget, when I was looking it up, was around $100,000. I should have asked during the Q&A. There was a whole Q&A. They were just talking about the making of the movie, and Steven was answering questions from the audience, and also there was a little interview that happened, and there's just so much cool stuff that they have done with this, that they focused on, and so many elements to Deathstalker, taking from various different films, and not just Deathstalker. Although, if you love Deathstalker 2, you need to watch this movie. You need to watch it, because there are so many references to Deathstalker 2, from literally lines that were in Deathstalker 2 that I thought were funny, to the intro with the flames coming up, amazing, and I loved all the elements of that.
I'll have my revenge, and Deathstalker 2.
But it also takes, I think, some inspiration from another sword and sorcery movie that initially comes from the horror genre, which is Army of Darkness. I'm a big Evil Dead fan, so I felt a lot of that inspiration. I was very satisfied to hear afterwards that that was an inspiration for Deathstalker, for 2025 Deathstalker, and you feel it in the movie. The thing that I love about this film is that there's so much practical effects happening. All of the creatures look amazing. I even heard that some of the creatures in the film, when they were talking after, they were talking about this idea about how some of those creatures were actually repurposed. So they built them and then would actually change them and reuse them in other scenes, which is crazy because you wouldn't even know to look at this movie at all that that is happening. I'd probably have to rewatch it a few times before I could even pick up on that, because even reusing stuff, they changed it so much. And the thing I love about Deathstalker, this 2025 version, is that we're going on a very linear journey. Now, I also recently watched Red Sonja, and if you guys want my thoughts on Red Sonja in a review, please let me know in the comments. I would love to talk about it. And while there are some things that I really liked about that movie, I do feel that overall my problem with Red Sonja is that there is potential there, but it's never really fully achieved. And there are actually things that hold that film back from being a great movie. I think it's like okay. I don't even think it's necessarily good. It's just okay, Red Sonja. But Deathstalker is phenomenal, because with Red Sonja, the story gets a little bit wonky. With Deathstalker, the story is always very straightforward, and I think the best way to explore characters in sword and sorcery is to put them on a very clear trajectory, put them on a very clear path. They're on a quest. They're going to encounter maybe some other people along their way. It's all about, of course, the friends we make along the way, I think, in sword and sorcery. They're going to have someone evil that they're up against, and they need to stop them. And why and all of that stuff can change each time we go through it. and their approach and how we get to learn who these characters are through their journey can also change depending on the character, depending on the story. And this is a movie that very clearly understands what this genre is about, in the sense that we are at the beginning of the movie, we just have Deathstalker. He's looting a corpse, basically, and during that comes across this artifact that he doesn't understand, that seems to be enchanted, that he can't get away from. When he hears that it's a cursed item, he's trying to get rid of it. He can't get rid of it. So he has to find out, what is this thing and how do I get rid of it? And when he does that, he sort of learns about how it might be part of this bigger plot, and how it's attached to this sort of dark magic. And he has to go on a quest to find out more, and then once they find out more, they find out maybe this is something we actually need to get rid of and stop from falling into the wrong hands, because it could end everything as we know it. It could end the world. Excellent. That's exactly what I want. High stakes. Easy to figure out where we're going and why we're going there. And then along the way, let's have some fun. Let's have some epic fights. Let's have some, bloody moments. And we have all of that in this. The fights are great. In fact, compared to Deathstalker 1 and 2, where the fights are very like, ka-ching, ka-ching, buh. This is a movie where the fights are smooth as butter, where people are actually fighting. And big shout outs to Daniel Bernhardt, who plays Deathstalker in this movie. What a beast. The opening sequence, we start with basically a fight right into it, and I was like, oh, this is a different kind of Deathstalker. This is a Deathstalker with like real fight choreo. It just sings so true. We also have Brisbane, who's played by Christina Orjalo. I'm sorry if I said Christina's last name wrong, by the way. We did meet her actually at the premiere, and she was so nice. We even got some pictures with her. She was so cool. Just everyone that's in this is amazing. We also have Paul Lazenby as Joe Tack, and he's also phenomenal in this. All of the acting is so good. Patton Oswalt, who plays Doodad. I mean, everyone that shows up is bringing their A game, and everyone is having fun. All the actors are great, and they make you care about the characters. They make you care about the story, about the journey. The way that this movie is also shot is something that I love. There's a lot of close-up shots. There's these big open shots with landscapes. And Steven talked about in the interview how with landscapes, he likes to really focus on when you're like on a location, like get those big shots, and then you can shoot the smaller things in the studio. So he'll go back and he'll kind of do reshoots to fill in those gaps. And I think it really works because it means that you're letting the locations work for you, but not making it feel like you have to build up like a whole location. It's clearly they're filming in simple places, but it's the elements, the level of detail that they put into the props, that they put into the costumes, and that they put into the creatures that creates the world, that really immerses you in the world. So the setting is just kind of like the backdrop that helps to create the atmosphere. And let me tell you, that is how you do Sword and Sorcery. The set doesn't need to be crazy. I mean, you can do something like the Dungeons and Dragons movie Honor Among Thieves, and you can have these big landscapes. They spent hundreds, I think it was 100 million for Honor Among Thieves that they spent. And you can tell because they went to a lot of locations and there's a lot of big, beautiful landscapes in it. But you can also just let it have a style and let the land just be there and create a sense of emotion in the scene. Are we on a long journey? Does it feel desolate? Does it feel like we have to go very far? You can create all of that with your landscape without it having to be this like opulent jewel of a shot. The other thing that I appreciate about this movie is that it does use some special effects, but it always feels like it's to create a style. So the thing with Red Sonja is that is a movie that I feel like kind of looks cheap because it's trying to look like it's more money than they had. Whereas Deathstalker is a film that's smaller budget, but is just being smarter with how it uses that to work for it, as opposed to trying to, reach for the stars when your budget is not at that height. But practical effects are great for that. And the fact that we even have a body that is basically made in this, I mean, it's fantastic. It's goofy, it's silly, it's not afraid to do those things, but it also isn't afraid to take itself seriously at moments and say some pretty cute stuff. I love how goofy it is, and I love that it's not afraid of that. It feels very much in line with you know, Evil of Dead, Army of Darkness, Deathstalker 2, kind of fun, kind of corny. But I would say this is probably the best written Deathstalker that I have seen. And I also feel like it's just very well acted and very well directed. And like I said, just very creative, stylized. Imagine a film with style. What even? It also removed the problem that I had with Deathstalker 1, which is the grape. You know what I'm talking about. If you've seen Deathstalker 1, you know about that. Watching Deathstalker 1, that's like the one thing that I'm like, but why so much? I know. It was a different time. It was 1983. It's sword and sorcery, and I guess that's just part of it sometimes. But it doesn't need to be there. And so I like that it's not. There are still some kind of horny moments in this, though, that are surprising and fun and just funny. So there's a lot to enjoy in the film still. And I mean, lots of muscles. Still lots of muscles and lots of people like just being epic, which is honestly what I think most of us show up for when it comes to sword and sorcery. It understands the genre at its core and it celebrates it. What more could you ask than that? Honestly, I think this is a perfect film. Overall, for me, I really have no notes. I had such a fun time with this. I definitely want to watch it again. I definitely would own this movie. I think I might need to own it. There's also vinyls. They redid the music, which is the theme from Deathstalker 2, if you know. It's very iconic, and they redid it, and it's so good in this. Oh my, it lives rent-free in my brain, and I'm not mad about it. They had Slash come in, they have Bear McCreary working on it, and you can tell, because it sounds good, and it's reused throughout the film, and I loved every moment of it, which is not something I could say actually about Deathstalker 2, but we'll talk about that another time. This movie in general is just, really, there are no notes. All elements of it, the sound, the visuals, the acting, the fighting. Everything is so freaking good and so well done. So overall, I got to give it a 5 out of 5, which I don't know where that's going to leave it for ranking my movies of the year. But I just got to say, looking at what it's setting out doing, it really is a 5 out of 5 for me. And I really, really loved it. So even though it might seem strange, this is what I'm about. This is something that I love about smaller budget movies, honestly. Because with bigger budget films, I just feel like sometimes the objective of the movie is purely money. Whereas when you do something smaller budget, it's so clear that it's people's passion, that it's something that they are doing because they need to do it, because they have something that they need to get out there artistically. And it is a labor of love for everyone that works on those films. And so I just feel like when you do a smaller budget movie, there is more opportunity, there's more of a chance that that film is just going to come from an artistic, passionate place than a big budget movie. And also because with big budget movies, there's so many people that are invested in that. So there's a lot of things you have to balance. When you do something smaller budget, you're kind of free creatively. You don't have anyone trying to control your production. So you as a director, and especially when you're also the writer, it's really your vision. And I loved Steve Kostanski's vision on this. I thought it was amazing. Such a good time. Steven did such a good job with it. Anyways, that's all I have to say about this. I hope that you guys enjoyed this review, and I hope it gets more people out to see it if you were on the fence about it. I didn't really spoil anything major, just because I don't think I need to do this review, but it's really fun, and I hope more people go and see it because it deserves it. It deserves to be watched, and people definitely put their hearts into it. Their hearts and a lot of buckets of blood, man. Lots of blood. That's all I have for this one, everybody. Let me know your thoughts on Deathstalker down in the comments below. I want to hear what you're thinking. And until next time, as always, stay nerdy. Bye! Also, I'm dressed as Poison Ivy because I've been doing that on stream. Cosplays. Check out my live streams. Live on YouTube and on Twitch. Ha!